Buenos días desde del Caribe de Costa Rica. Today is September 22nd, and it is exactly 6 years since I lit a match to the bare minimum shit I was accepting for my human experience, and it exploded in my face, showing me all of the ways, the patterns, behaviors, and stuff I was carrying that had to go. And then exactly 4 years after that, I was rebirthed, died and rebirthed again on my farm, in my shower, whenever I birthed my baby into this human experience. And here we are 2 years after that, and I've been a mother, and that has been the most incredible portal of my existence. So 6 years ago, exactly 11 days after moving to Costa Rica, I was floating around my property, and I brought all of my matrix mentality here to the jungle, and I was popping Adderall and I was drinking wine because that's what I did regularly in my matrix world. And I was heating up some food. I went inside to check on my food, and the oven was cold. I had no experience with a gas oven, so I kneeled down, got on my knees, lit the flame, and it exploded, throwing me about 6 feet back into a table. This experience changed me forever. It was 11 days on the 22nd, which, by the way, my human entrance is 11/22. So the symbology is huge, right? I also moved to Costa Rica on 9/11/19. So this occurs. I'm obviously freaking out because the pain and the heat was so extreme. I thought for sure my entire face had melted off. The guy I was with, he came running in, and I'm like screaming, bloody murder, you can imagine. And he's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Like, am I okay? Is my face okay?" And he's like, "I don't see anything wrong with you." So I go to the mirror, which I was afraid to do initially, and my face is red and quite shiny, but it's there. So as soon as that happened, then the woman I moved here with, that I was starting a business with, was upstairs in her house, and I was yelling for her, and she was at the bridge that we had, and I'm like, "Come down here," and she was telling me no, that she didn't want to come down because she was afraid of what she was going to see because of the sound of everything. Turns out it sounded like a giant bookshelf full of books fell over. We didn't have that, so in her mind, that's all she could think of because we didn't have experience with gas stoves. And so I'm yelling at her, telling, "Please come down and help me." And we're telling her that I'm okay. So she finally shows up. And once I realized that my face had not melted off, I went into this place of repair. I went into this place. I started taking action as like the ancestral medicine woman that was inside of me. And um I started gathering, like, one of the main things I did is I had some banana vinegar that I was using for my dogs in this, like, pretty awesome spray bottle. I'd been using it for their coat so that so their skin could get acquainted with the moisture in the air and in the Caribbean and being by the sea. And I just thought, spray me, like, this has to neutralize something, right? So once I told them what had happened, and they started neutralizing me, and then I started getting aloe. We had a big aloe plant, and I started cutting it and mixing it and putting it on my face. So this took me into this week-long process of healing my second-degree burns. Um, that was from my forehead down to my knees because I was kneeling down. So it shot right at me and through me, and I had second-degree burns from my forehead to my knees, and that week, I spent the entire week treating myself through meditation and vision work, repairing all of the cells that had been damaged. And I would put on new medicine every 4 hours, get in the shower, and rinse it off. This was like as if I had done this 100 times. I knew what to do. And after a week, the last thing to heal were my lips, and my skin looked amazing because I had essentially just a chemical peel, take it off. But my skin looked amazing, but more than anything, I recognized my power in that week. And I recognized that the people who were supporting me didn't know how to do that. So for me, the message was strong. Like, definitely the guy that I was with at he during that 7 weeks, he, like, completely flipped out on me and was like, "This is traumatizing for me." And I was like, "You're kidding me, right? Like, this is traumatizing for you?" I just had my face melted off, like, "What?" And so he left. He didn't stay in the jungle for very long, bless his soul. But, it took me into this whole new portal. I died during that 7 days, and I was reborn into a place where I was like, could have been this could have been a fatal snake bite." Because the way I was floating around the property, mind you, I had been there for 11 days, and I had gone to the beach maybe a handful of times. I took my matrix mind, and I brought it right into the jungle. In that moment, I decided I was no longer drinking, and I was no longer taking Adderall. On the 7th day, we actually had built a little fire, and I threw my 3-month script into the fire, and I was like, "I'm done with this. I cannot evolve into this new version of me while holding on to the things that were keeping me alive in the matrix," because the Adderall and the wine, they were numbing me enough to be able to stay there. And so it birthed me into this new world, and I was so grateful for it because it literally lit a match on every single pattern and behavior that I had that had was holding on to my old identity. And so I stopped drinking. I stopped doing Adderall and cleaned up everything. This also moved me into preparation for my first ayahuasca retreat. And so for that, you have to do dieta, or you should do dieta. So I cleaned up my diet. I cleaned up all of these things. Like 11 days after moving here, the jungle said, "You cannot live like this here. We will kick your ass out if you continue to bring your matrix BS into this reality." And I listened and I heard it because I really wanted to stay here, because I knew that what was happening in Texas was not serving me anymore, and I could not move into my next highest timeline while holding on to that same stuff. And this was my initiation. That gas oven blowing up in my face was my initiation. It was showing me every single thing I was doing that was not going to work for me. And so this was my catalyst in keeping me here in the jungle, where I have seen people exiled so quickly because people are bringing their matrix mentality here and they're expecting the jungle to change for them. I've heard people complain and complain and complain. For instance, when you go to the hardware store, it could take you an hour because of their system. It's so antiquated that, especially 6 years ago, I would go in for screws and it would take me 1 hour to get from one person to the next, to the next, to the next, until they completed my order and handed me my screws. This makes people insane who are so used to convenience. Give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. I have things to do, I have things to do. The jungle doesn't give a shit about what you have to do. The jungle moves at its own pace. And if I that was my first shedding. And I have shed over and over and over again to become in the rhythm of the jungle. And that moment was so clear for me. And the repair that I did through the meditation I was doing. So I'll tell you what I did so that you could possibly do it. And I've done it many times since. Is I went into a place of meditation. I laid in my bed for that 7 days. If I was not in the shower cleaning off my medicine or replacing it, I was meditating and I was envisioning. I would see a light come into my crown and it would go through my body and it would find all of the cells that had been damaged by the explosion. And I would see them weaving back together and I would connect them and I would start healing. In that second degree burn from here to here, under my boob, because they're big, is the only place I had a blister from that. And that was because I wasn't getting under there good enough with my medicine. It also taught me that one of my superpowers, that all of our superpower is, if we believe it, that we can heal way faster than we think we can. For instance, 2 weeks after that, I met a guy who had his arm wrapped up. And I asked him what had happened. He was like, "Oh, like 2 weeks ago on the 22nd, an oven exploded on me." And I went to the doctor and it's still healing. And I was like, "Ah, I haven't had an oven explode at that same time." And I told him my experience and I told him what I did. And he was like, "What the heck?" Like, I'm still trying to heal from this, and it's been 2 weeks. And I was like, yeah, well, I don't believe in the medical system, so there's that. But that's what people do in the Matrix too. You immediately run straight to someone who knows more than you, and you give your power away to them. But the message for me, and probably for him too, was reclaim that power. Decide that you have the information inside of you that knows how to heal your own body, which you do. Let's just go with urine therapy. If I would have been if I would have had unlocked that part of me during that time, I would have been using my urine to heal myself 100%, because that is medicine, bathing in it. So that was my first initiation on the 22nd of September. Exactly 4 years later is when, in my shower, Corey and I, the father of my child, he and I alone brought our baby into this world in my shower, after 20 hours of labor on the porch on the farm. And it was incredible. Unassisted, unmedicated birth is how we are going to heal the world. And I mean that honestly, because when women remember that their bodies are perfectly designed to do exactly what I did in that shower, to house and birth a human naturally without any assistance other than the rock who was Corey that kept me grounded through that entire 20 hours. I mean, I was like floating up out of my body. I would, whenever my contractions got really deep and I was like, I had to leave my body, and I was up on the ceiling looking down at myself in the birthing tub. This was the multidimensional experience of me knowing, like, my body is doing the work. I don't have to do anything, but I do need to exit for a little bit so that I can go through the process. And I really enjoyed seeing what I was seeing. So it was an astral projection. And I used to be able to astral project when I was younger. I did it almost daily whenever I was getting ready for school. I would come up out of my body and I would look at my outfit and I would decide if that's what I wanted to wear. I was always like really keen in fashion at a young age. And then I was in 6th grade. I was 12. I was telling my girlfriends, like, naturally, like, oh, don't you just love it whenever you can kind of come out of your body? You can see your outfit like other people would see you, and then decide if that's what you want to wear. And they looked at me like I was crazy, and I shut it down. So I have been able to astral project a few more times in my life. But yeah, I think that's a pretty common thing for people, is when what we did so normally as a child, and then we voiced it to people and they told us we were weird, we shut it down. So the 22nd of September, I brought my baby into this world. And becoming a mother, from maiden to mother, can't be explained until you experience it. And I think for women who aren't gifted with a natural vaginal birth, they still get the portal that is motherhood, because you're no longer just taking care of you, you're taking care of another human. Your entire existence revolves around how you're keeping another human alive. It is a selfless service that doesn't compare to anything else. And that initiation was extremely challenging for me. Being the caretaker of Seva, this land, in that time, we were relying on retreats for our finances. And I had one of my students start a smear campaign whenever I told her that her alignment wasn't working for Seba and that she needed to leave. So she started my second smear campaign. And it took me into, this was when I was pregnant. And this is like the very beginning. So it took me into this whole place of like collapsing internally. And I went so inside that I could not even think about holding space for others. And honestly, it would have been really messed up for me to call people in at the space where I needed to take care of me, and try to do that just to pay the bills. So my bank account was depleting. We didn't have guests coming in. I was super worried about money. So I took to the whole world of affiliate marketing and digital marketing because I felt like, okay, well, I have the platform and I believe that I can do well at this. This is it was such a trap, but I learned so much about how to be a brand and all of that. So it wasn't a horrible thing. It just, it got me where I needed to get to be able to survive up until birthing her. And then once she came and she was here and I was responsible for her life, I just decided that I had to put it down. I needed to stop the hustle and I needed to be present and I needed to just go, whatever happens, happens. And for the first few months of her life, I had to um, borrow money from Corey's mother to pay our mortgage. And that was okay because that was also another initiation for me. I've been on my own since I was 14, like not on my own. I moved out of my house when I was 14 and I started working at 14, paying my own bills. Relying on someone else to make ends meet, my ego didn't want to do that. My heart wanted so badly to just rest in motherhood and not think about all of those things that I accepted the support. And I'm so glad I did because accepting that support and feeling like I have family when like family through birthing a baby with this amazing man. His mother is incredible. His sister is incredible. Like they are my family, and they come here often. My birth family hasn't come here. They haven't met my baby, and they've never seen what I'm doing here, and that's okay. That's that's okay. I know what I'm doing is supporting them energetically, and I know that they are always dealing with their own stuff. And during my pregnancy, I got upset, pissed off, all of the emotions because I felt like I wasn't supported by them. And I responded as a maiden would, which is, "You're not caring about me. You're not checking on me." My older sister has 4 children. She has her own shit to do. And in that moment, I was the I was the main character and everybody's reality because I was pregnant and I was having a baby. Oh, you're supposed to care about me. And that's such a maiden way to think about things, to think that the universe revolves around you. As soon as I became a mother, and the more I am in my motherhood, I'm like, oh my God, the universe revolves around my child. And then it revolves around the other things that keep her environment happy. And then it revolves around more of her and nursing and all of this stuff. And then maybe it comes back on me, right? Like my responsibility of being a mother is to take good care of myself, to love on me, to honor me. But like I have to do that during the times that I'm nursing her. There's no separation. You know what I mean? Starting this podcast is a beautiful way for me to love on me while still continuing to share what I'm here to do as well. Like my role as a woman, as a human, is a messenger and to use my voice and to speak my truths so that other people feel confident and give themselves permission to also speak their truths and to do the hard work that we came here to do. Like we came here to be humans and learn emotions, and this is what we're doing. And so coming to Costa Rica, I have seen dozens of people be spit out of the jungle because they wanted to bring their matrix mentality into the space. And if you cannot shed and move and bend, you will break. And every single thing that has come up for me in 6 years, 3 smear campaigns since I've been in my purpose. But hey, I mean, if you're a shadow worker and you're holding space for people and you haven't had a smear campaign, are you really even doing it right? So I'll leave you at that. And I'm going to go to the next one.